only like our second in-store event that we've had, so it's really, really nice to have you all here. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes with the Zoom audience. So Ash is going to be letting everybody in on Zoom, so that's what the computer here is obviously for. So we've got an audience of about 80 people who are meant to be joining us on Zoom tonight, so that's lovely. Ash is going to take questions from that audience using the chat box, so and then she's going to text them through to me, so I'll come back in later if there are any over Zoom to read out. Otherwise, you guys should start thinking of any questions that you have now, so that yeah, we've got plenty for the end of the event. And yeah, we'll just wait another 2 minutes, and then I'll start with a quick introduction and an acknowledgement of country, and then I'm going to introduce John, who's going to take everything from there.
We have 2 more people due to arrive.
That is absolutely fine. I've popped a note in the door there that says that we're closed for an event. So hopefully, unless it's those 2 people who are meant to be here, the rest, everybody else, will know to turn around, and they'll know that they can come in. I can. What was that say? Oh, okay. Yeah, we're good. No, it's fine. We've still got a couple of minutes. We're not live yet. Don't worry.
Don't stop the lady buying one.
Yeah, we'll give it 2 minutes. We'll wait until 6:32 just to let everybody come in.
Okay.
Just going to get a photo of the poster.
Should be about, there are 80 registered. I reckon that we'll have about, I'd say between 50 and 60 tonight. That's generally our attendance rate.
There'll be, there are internationals too, actually.
Yeah,
Just 2 coming from the UK.
I said to Maureen, don't stop.
Well, she'd said the champagne.
Well,
yeah, we can. We'll wait 2 minutes just to see.
Champagne. Smash a champagne glass.
Yeah, I had to ready. I tried to put it
Up and down. And then
so I had the dog in the back. And then
Nobody can hear us yet. They will be able to see.
got everything else. Calm the dog. And then we got down to we've got a lot to do, so we got down and got 2 hours done. To get this project up.
I think we're going to get started. So Ash, when you're ready, if you could let everybody in. Awesome. Hello, everybody. Just give you a couple of minutes to enter the Zoom room. I can see lots of friendly faces filling up the screen now. A couple more people waiting to come in, so we'll just let them come through first. So lovely to see you all. Thanks for having your cameras on. It makes it feel a lot more communal. Lovely. We might get started. So before we begin this evening, I would like to first acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we are gathered tonight at Avid Reader, the Yagara and Turrbal people. I pay my respects to elders past and present and acknowledge that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So it is my absolute pleasure to be here with you all this evening. As you can see, if you are a regular event attendee of ours, we are not in the usual spot. I have left my home for the first time in what feels like months, and I'm here tonight in the bookstore with a small live audience who you can hopefully hear in the background as well. Thank you. So it is my absolute pleasure to be here, as I say, for this evening's launch of John O'Toole and Julie Dunn's Stand Up for Literature, which hopefully you can see here. And if not, then Ashley is going to be sending you the link so that you can check this out online shortly and purchase your copies. So for everybody who's joining us on Zoom tonight, I just want to quickly do a little bit of housekeeping. So as you've probably realized, you're all on mute, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to take your questions. We definitely do. Please send them through via the chat box. We will read through them, and my colleague Ashley is going to forward them on to me so that I can read them out at the end of the event. So start sending those through as you think of them. If you can't see the chat box, then don't worry, because it's going to pop up as soon as Ashley sends through the link to purchase your copies of Stand Up for Literature. So without further ado, it is now my pleasure to introduce your MC for this evening, John O'Toole. Originally a secondary English teacher, John was the Foundation Chair of Arts Education at Melbourne University and lead writer for the arts and for drama in the Australian curriculum. He has taught all ages and on all continents and written numerous teachers' textbooks and research texts, many of which are standard reading. In 2014, he was awarded the Order of Australia AM for drama education. And so, John, it is now my pleasure to hand over to you.
Thanks, Emma Kate. Thanks very much. And I want to add my admiring thanks to everybody at the Avid Reader, for this extraordinarily adventurous and brave technologically event of having a live and virtual launch at the same time. I think we're all learning as we go. I'm John O'Toole and half the authors of this book. You'll meet the other half in a minute. This book had its origins over quite a few years for Julie and me, since as young teachers, half a world and half a generation apart, each of us discovered what you can do with drama to make learning in English come alive, to show your students that both language and literature are about breathing humans and can be brought to life off the page into the classroom. Over the years, we both reveled in the joy of teaching English through experience, with the students up on their feet, living poetry and stories and plays together. But we've also watched how much harder it has been getting over the years for English teachers to do that, with the increasing curriculum and school pressures for literacy, critical literacy, more literacy, testing, NAPLAN, reading, writing and analysing texts, visual texts, reading texts, and more texts. For all of those, it's so much easier to stay seated and chair-bound, even in discussion, and even when you're studying drama itself, if you think of it as a text. Now, we want to share what we're lucky enough to know about the joy of working through drama. First and foremost, drama engages and motivates the students, not all of whom share our love of literature or find it easy. It humanises unfamiliar contexts and language, which literature often contains, making them familiar. Most important, it brings back real emotion and feeling to the study of text in the classroom. Drama can create deep learning in lots of ways and at lots of points in your study. It can, for introducing a piece of literature that's new and perhaps daunting, for exploring a text as you read it, in grasping the narrative as it goes along, and diving into those vital key moments in the text to deepen their understanding. And for reflecting holistically on a text they've already read, and for going beyond it. With the help and support of this book, and in a moment, Julie will explain what's actually in it, any teacher can do all these things in your classroom and make teaching all literature far more enjoyable for you, as well as more worthwhile for the kids. And that's important, make it more enjoyable for you. Now, instead of me spruiking how it works, let's listen to one of the customers telling it in her way. I'm afraid the limited technology, good though it is, available to us tonight means you can't watch and listen to it from the horse's mouth. You have to imagine it. Tilly is a Year 9 student. She was one of our guinea pigs for the book. And last year, she had a chance to learn about poetry our way. She completed this unit last year, and this interview was entirely unprompted, I swear it, after almost a year. We put the students in role as teams of literary creatives working for a new commercial company called Poems to Go, a bit like the old Singing Telegrams or Uber Eats for poetry, offering poetry presentations for big occasions. I think it's a good idea, actually, someone should try. They had to think about the occasion and their client. In her case, it was a grand country wedding. Then they had to choose appropriate poems and make a live presentation of them with music and effects to wow the wedding guests. I'll quote, "You and Ben were a team, yeah?" "Yeah, we're good friends," said Tilly. "And it was a lot of fun." "Was the unit as a whole a lot of fun?" "I think so. I'd never really done poetry in that way before, like multimodally. We would usually just have to analyse some poems by Shakespeare." So, can you remember what you did? I think I remember we had to create a multimodal presentation through the eyes of like wedding planners who are trying to create a poem for a wedding reception to fit a certain client. I hadn't coached her, I promise. "What poems did you use? How did you get hold of the poems?" I asked. "I think we created some of them ourselves and we used some famous Australian poems." "Do you think your presentation achieved what you wanted it to?" "I think we could have done better. We were pretty new to it to begin with, because usually you're always, in a classroom setting with a highlighter and a pencil and go on, find meaning in this. So I've never done this before, but I think in a way this was easier. I was impressed with our achievement overall." "Do you think you learned anything about poetry?" "I think so, because you're supposed to analyse poems, and find that added or hidden meaning in a poem, but it's hard to do that if you're just staring at a page. This translates the poem into a different context, into drama. So, do you think working through drama is a good way to learn poetry?" "Drama's an excellent way to learn anything." "I love drama, where one can learn through make-believe, pretty much." That sums it up for me too.
Yeah, wonderful.
And now, find out what's actually in this book. I'll call on Julie Dunn, my co-author, who's Professor of Drama at Griffith University, and as well as all her years and years of teaching at every level, she's a particular expert in early childhood language. So she kept us always going back to the basics of this. Julie.
And thanks everyone for being here and online. And I know we've got some people from overseas online, so I'd just like to have a big wave out to friends and colleagues overseas. Okay, so what is in this book? Well, hopefully lots of both theoretical and practical advice for teachers that gives them the confidence to stand up themselves and stand up for literature. The name of the book's important because it's not only about getting the kids on their feet, but actually getting teachers to really stand up and make literature what it should be, which is one of the really important art forms of our society. It's really culturally important. So we want teachers to stand up and kids to stand up for literature and say, hey, this is important. So what we've tried to do is to include as much in here to make it accessible for teachers, including drama teachers as well. So we're hoping that not only English teachers, but drama teachers will find something of value in the book. It begins with a lovely foreword by Professor Peter Freebody, and I noticed that Kelly is online. So Professor Peter Freebody wrote a fantastic foreword to the book. Those of you who know Peter will know what a great thinker he is, and he is supportive of the book and its goals. And then we move into two parts. Part A of the book provides some really good, solid information for people to understand drama terminology, management of drama spaces, management of time in classrooms when you're using dramatic approaches, management of groups of children and young people, because remember this book's designed for the Year 7s right through to the Year 12s. Management of space, always the big challenge when you're trying to stand up in classrooms is how do we find the space. The earlier chapters in Part A then moves on to look at the strategies, those all-important strategies that we use, our dramatic approaches. The big approaches like process drama, story drama, improvisation, working with script, but also some of those, the strategies within those overarching approaches. And so we look at some of those. We also provide, because although we do offer 10 exemplars, we don't want people to go, all right, I've taught the 10, what do I do now? Although it would be pretty impossible to do that because they're so diverse in terms of the age groups we cater for. But we want people to have the skills to be able to plan their own. In fact, the exemplars that we offer, we wouldn't expect many people to do them as written. We would hope that they would adapt and adjust and modify for their classes and the particular cohorts they have in front of them, because these aren't recipes, they're just examples of practice. So we give people some planning suggestions, how to frame dramatic action, how to work through the various phases and so on. So we hopefully have given people enough of a toolkit, what John calls the Allen key, like the IKEA furniture you put together. We've called it, you know, that some of these chapters are like the Allen key that helps you put the drama together, just like the IKEA furniture, which I can never put together. So hopefully we've been more successful than that. Okay, so when we move to the exemplars in Part B, they've divided into the 3 Ps: stand up for poetry, stand up for prose, and stand up for plays. So we think that's a really nice framework. The stand up for prose comes first because it's important that we're not just talking about theatrical literature, that we're actually talking about prose. And we've tried to use some texts that we think are commonly used. For example, and I acknowledge Adrienne Jones, who's here with us tonight from Yeronga State High, because one of the units in here was co-developed for the students in that high school, and working with Adrienne on that. And we're using John Marsden's Tomorrow When the War Began, which is a very commonly used text in lower secondary. And we explore that dramatically using process drama. But we also have other prose. There are 3 altogether. John has a wonderful unit in here on Colm the Celt is a legend, how to get kids excited about legends. And then we also have Jasper Jones, Craig Silvey's lovely work. So that's the prose section. Poetry, John's just shared with you about Poems to Go, which we're very excited about that particular unit. There's another one about The Bully Asleep, which seems to be a very simplistic poem until you start digging deeper and really thinking about what it's like to consider bullying from the perspective of the bully who's asleep. And then we also have the 3rd poetry, which is, I've gone completely blank. Stand up for poetry. You should know it. It's, it's Waltzing Matilda. Yes. So it's John's fabulous unit, which actually gets the young people to think again about what does Waltzing Matilda actually mean, that very iconic Australian poem, probably the most iconic of all. So that's the stand up for poetry. And then we finish with plays, and we have everything from Alana Valentine's wonderful play called Cyberbile, which is a verbatim play. We have Streetcar Named Desire. We have another unit in there which is based on Antigone. And I think most English teachers will be most excited about John's excellent unit, which addresses Shakespeare, how to teach Shakespeare. And in this case, Twelfth Night, which is that wonderful gender-bending play from Shakespeare, that great comedy, which we hope that might get a resurgence now that it's in the book, because it's time that we kind of had a nice variety of Shakespeare's works, including the comedy. So that's the book. There are some appendices. There are lots of resources for teachers to engage with if they're busy. We hope that people enjoy the book as much as we enjoyed writing it. It was a lot of fun. We had some arguments, not surprisingly, but we got discussions, robust discussions. But we hope that people enjoy the book, as I said, as much as we enjoyed writing it. It's a lot of our life captured in this book. So we hope that those of you online and those of you in the future who use the book will enjoy it as a new adventure in standing up for literature. Thanks. And pass over to our first launcher. Is it a launcher? I'm not sure what the...
They're the launchees. She's the launcher.
She's the launcher. Okay. So I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Sherilyn Lennon, who's a colleague of mine from Griffith University. She's actually looks after English curriculum at Griffith, secondary English curriculum. She's also the patron of the Queensland English Teachers Association, or Queensland Association for Teachers of English. And she's that's a very important position to be patron. I'm very inspired by that. Sherilyn's own research is fascinating in area of literacy, feminist studies, and also rurality. So she knows a lot about English in a lot of contexts. So I'm interested to see what she makes of the book. Thanks, Sherilyn.
Thanks, Julie. Sorry, I'm just going to, I'm following instructions. It's nothing to do with you, Julie. Is that what the plan was? Thank you for that introduction, Julie. And Julie, the book is brilliant. I've been reading it over the last week. It arrived in my mailbox out west, 400 kilometres west of Brisbane. It was just such a treat to go up to the mailbox and find this extraordinary book in there, which made explicit what I always thought had been implicit in my drama teaching colleagues. And for many of us who teach English, the second subject that a lot of our colleagues teach is drama, but it wasn't for me. And I've always been quite envious of these teachers who can slip between the two areas and bring drama into their English classrooms and English into the drama classrooms. And to me, they sort of had this magical power that I didn't have, and I didn't know how to access. And now I do. I've read the book and it's unlocked for me lots of secrets about how to establish drama in your English classroom. And it's not that hard. Thank you for making it so digestible, so easy to understand, so logical and pragmatic, so practical, but also embed all that intellectual rigor and that richness that comes with bringing drama into your English classroom. So it is the book I wish I'd had when I had been an English teacher. I'm now in the university sector, but I can see how we can still use some of those ideas in my tutorials and classes even at the university level. So thank you very much for that. You know, what it's done is it's brought specialist drama knowledge into English classrooms to value add to what you're already doing in the English classroom. And it packages it in a way that speaks personally without being condescending. And, you know, it's got a really nice personal conversational tone, really highly readable, and speaks to the reader or the English teacher or the drama teacher who is reading the book. So some of the practical tips that were in the book that I really appreciated, that to me were sort of a little bit, these were this sort of magic box of tricks, is now I know how to establish norms if I'm going to do some drama activities in my English classroom. Now I know how to create a respectful listening and participatory environment for students who are going to be active and up out of their seats. I now know how to organise my classroom, where to move the furniture to maximise what it is I'm trying to achieve with the students. I know how to create an environment where all students contribute, not just the dominant ones who often try to get in the way, who often want to contribute the 90% of the lesson. So there are rules and just simple norms in there that will help you structure that, or help me structure that. It also gave me some wonderful tips on how to create an alternative world, an imaginative world in the four walls of my little wooden classroom. So that's also something, you know, things that you don't often think about doing, or how to set things up. And what I really liked too is it's really strong pedagogically. It doesn't just leap straight into the drama activities. It talks you through first how you give students time to plan and to think, so that you get high quality performance, not just rapid style, you know, superficial responses. So it allows that built-in time, and it steps you through those things so that you can do them, you know, so things that were once implicit become explicit. But on top of that, and what I really like, is the rigor in the book and the ideas and the concepts that it asks you to bring into the classroom with the literature that's getting unpacked in these units of work that are outlined in the book. So as Julie said, it builds in opportunities for students to respond multimodally, dramatically, in the written form. So it gives you lots of options for that. It also, what I particularly like, is it challenges students with some pretty heavy ethical questions. There's the one about the bullying poem, where students have to enact what it means to be a bully, or perhaps to be on the receiving end, and come up with some solutions to ideas around, is it okay to fight back against a bully? So ethical dilemmas that actually students, you know, some really important stuff here that students can take with them through life. Some of my favourite moments are activities that are very well structured, things called whoosh, which sort of give you a time lapse, or hot seat, or one of my favourites, creating your classroom a soundscape of voices throughout your classroom. Really arty stuff that I would love to bring into my English classroom that I never thought I could. So freeze frames as well, time jumps. So there's lots of wonderful ideas in there for English teachers, and ways to unlock, not just, I think English teachers are really good at unlocking the outer worlds of characters, but this actually asks English teachers to take students through particular dramatic strategies that will help them to unlock the inner worlds of these characters as well. So what stood out for me was, well, there are a couple of things that really stood out for me, and one that I particularly liked was being given permission to enter a text elsewhere than at the beginning. Jumping in at a particular key scene and pulling your students with you, rather than just going through the paces of opening at page 1 and moving through from there. So thank you for giving me permission to do that. I always wanted to do that. Now I've got permission. And also, what stood out to me as well was the way that the activities allow the coming to know of these literary works and these dramatic works through embodied readings. So as English teachers, I think we're pretty good at getting students to read words, but that's often a distant way of interpreting the written word, or viewing the written screen. So this actually takes students beyond just a cerebral reading, a cognitive reading of a text, to actually embodying the text. It's a completely different way of reading that I think caters to diverse learners and caters to learners in ways that sometimes as English teachers we overlook. So what particularly struck me as well was with the senior syllabus that's just come out in 2019, one of the new criteria or objectives in that syllabus that hasn't been present before is to create empathy with students with reading texts. And I can't think of a better way of creating empathy than having students actually embody the characters and living through their experiences in the classroom. So to me, it's actually nailed that brand new criteria and given teachers a way in to unlock and access that criteria. So thank you very much, and I think I'll stop there. But you know, as I said at the beginning, I didn't expect anything less than brilliance from Julie and John. I worked beside Julie, and she certainly delivered, and so has John. So congratulations on a cracker of a book.
Yeah.
After that overwhelming thing, I will pause to polish the microphone. Ostentatious. Because I now want to introduce the other half of the launch party. Since there are two books, sorry, not two books, two authors And in a way, two subjects being married here tonight, we thought we'd have two launches. And couldn't find anybody better, not only technically and formally, than the president of Drama Australia, the Drama Teachers Association, but John Nicholas, whom I've known for about a decade, is more than just your average drama teacher, because when he arrived like Athena, fully armed and clad from the head of Zeus. That within his second year of teaching, he was on the committee of Drama Queensland. And he's kind of never looked back, and he's dragged the whole, not dragged, he's pulled the whole drama community along with him. We've lost him locally now because though a Queenslander to begin with, he's now been poached by the Sydney Theatre Company, for who he's the education director. And so it's an honour for us to have quite such a rising star of drama to give the drama bit.
Thank you. What a lovely introduction, John. And all I can really say is everything that Sherilyn said. Yeah, I agree. It's such an honour to be here to co-launch this book, written by really two drama legends. I was a former drama teacher, as John mentioned. I actually was a legal studies teacher who, when I got to my first year of teaching, they were like, do you want to teach middle years English or middle years religion? And I said, I think English would probably be better. Let's do that. And I was a really bad English teacher and used no drama pedagogy in those first few years. And it really wasn't until I left the classroom and started working at Sydney Theatre Company that I became much better at using our pedagogy outside of our drama classroom. And I think we've done it as a group of educators really well across primary. I think we, and really thanks to John and Julie's other book, which is also very good. If you're following at home, you should get that one as well, Pretending to Learn. And I think we've done a really good job across primary at breaking down silos and working in a transdisciplinary approach. But in secondary, I don't think we've been that good. And I think that for me, this book gives us permission as drama educators and empowers us as drama educators to go, we actually have really good pedagogy and we can work in schools and lead pedagogical transformation. And I think that that is really exciting. And that we can work beside and with our colleagues in English classrooms, because it isn't scary. And as you said, Sherilyn, how it is laid out so beautifully in this book, that an early career teacher, a young early career teacher like me can pick it up and use it, and someone really experienced like Sherilyn can pick it up and also use it and be really successful. I think the other thing is that we're seeing more and more in the rhetoric around education about the importance of creativity. And Michael Anderson, I saw you there, calls it an aerosol word. You know, it's like it's sort of spray painted in the air. And I so often get asked by teachers, well, how do I do it? What does it look like in my classroom? I get the rhetoric, I get politicians telling us what we should be doing, what our classroom should look like. But what does that actually look like in our classroom? And I think that this book, again, really helps us to realise that, to enable us to have classrooms that are creative, that are open to creative possibilities, and really encourage creative teaching and learning. I think the book really has just as much to offer drama educators as English educators. And not only because I think there's so many wonderful exemplars of the plays that are in there, and Julie mentioned Twelfth Night, Cyber Bile, A Streetcar Named Desire, and my personal favourite, which I think is really special, Antigone, which was written by one of John's classmates. It's something that's really special. But I think John and Julie are two of the most extraordinary teachers and thinkers in our time. And I think their ability to help teachers transform our classrooms, to reconsider the way that we approach our own practice, and their commitment to sharing their work with us, I think, is in a really deep and meaningful way. I think is really inspiring. And I wanted to thank you for sharing your practice and thinking with us in this book. I think it will have a tremendous impact across Australia in many, many classrooms and on many, many teachers and many, many more students. So with Sherilyn, it's our pleasure to co-launch, we should read the real name, to launch Stand Up for Literature. Thank you, I should have it with me. Stand Up for Literature, Dramatic Approaches in the Secondary Drama Classroom. Congratulations. What did I say? Secondary English, I can't even get it right. Congratulations, John and Julie.
Yes, English and drama classroom. Yes, you're quite right. One more thing about John Nicholas. He's got one more function to do tonight. He kindly agreed. Because we have to gratefully acknowledge the marvellous assistance we've had all the way through and support from Currency Press, Australia's best and finest drama press. They don't need me to tell them that. Currency has created a wonderful book for us here, and they couldn't come tonight for obvious reasons. They live in Sydney, and so they've sent a little message which John Nicholas will be a very appropriate person to deliver, because he too is a Currency author of a book which he modestly didn't mention, called The School Drama Book, which is what is actually changing primary teaching all over Australia at the moment. It's an amazing book, and it's a Currency book. So he is a Currency author.
Thanks, John.
Here he is.
That's right, available for $49.95. And I just want to acknowledge Currency. I'm reading a message in a moment, but I really did want to acknowledge Currency and their commitment to publishing really high quality texts that support arts educators. And I think that sadly these texts will never sell millions of copies worldwide. And I think that, well, maybe this will change, this will buck the trend. But I think that to invest in publishing texts like this, I think is really important, and we're really grateful to Currency on behalf of the sector. So hello everyone, and welcome to the launch of Stand Up for Literature. My name is Claire Grady, through the very lovely, handsome medium of John Nicholas Saunders. She did write that, I promise. Thanks everyone for laughing. And I'm very proud to be the publisher of this fine book. I'm sorry that no one from Currency Press can be with you this evening, but we're very much there in spirit. We first received the proposal in 2018. John and Julie wrote in their original proposal, in the absence of alternative approaches, many teachers of English use sedentary, analytical and purely cognitive approaches to literature, which can lead to student disengagement and kill off young people's love of literature. We agreed, and this book is the result. Deborah Franco, our head of marketing, says, "This is a book that I have been wanting for years. I've always thought English teachers were a little nervous about using drama texts in the English classroom, but Stand Up for Literature will allay those fears and open up a whole new world for them and their students." As well as writing an excellent book, John and Julie have been an absolute pleasure to work with through the editorial and production process. Congratulations to you both on this book. It's a testament to your experience, your hard work, and I hope you enjoy the night. You've earned it. Again, I'm sorry not to be there to do this in person, but I'd like everyone to be upstanding, if you're not already, to propose a toast to John and Julie and to the success of Stand Up for Literature. John and Julie. Congratulations.
Now that's the official performance. That's all the kind of hired guests we have. But there is, we do have a few minutes, very few minutes to have some questions, which Julie and I will attempt to answer if anybody's got any.
Yeah,
want
so
to deal with that?
we haven't had any questions through from the, thank you. We haven't had any questions through from all of you on Zoom as yet. So if you do have any, please send them through. That's okay. As John just said, we've still got a few more minutes to take some questions. But yeah, does anybody in the audience have questions that they would like to ask?
So to what degree is this a memoir of both of you? You know, in what ways have you drawn from your own experiences to whatever it is?
Great question, Simon. It is a memoir for both of us. Yeah, we've been dragging our memories for many, many years. I have to say that all the wonderful new cutting edge innovative ideas, some of them go back for me to stuff I was trying to do in classrooms 50 years ago. And I've sort of got better at it since. And so I think it is the palimpsest of all the experiences we've had. We've tried to put pretty well everything we know about education in it. That's from me anyway.
Yeah, I remember when we finished the book, we said, that's it. John said, I reckon this is just about everything I know about drama in one book. And I looked at it and I went, yeah, I think it is too. So I think it's not really a memoir, but it certainly is built on many years of experience as a drama teacher that, and for me also as an English teacher. So I'm very proud of it. And yeah, I think it's hopefully reflective of 160 years of experience. Not quite. That's why I was putting myself in the same category. It's okay.
Sophocles was one of the older kids in our school.
I must have gone to school with Andrew Button Pass and then. Any other questions?
Do you consider it particularly timely, considering we just have our students about to take their first English exam next Monday morning? Is it a particularly timely reminder about how to teach them?
Well, I guess we hope so, but we can't guarantee that the kids will have got to it by next Monday morning. We started on this book having talked about it for some while and said, listen, it's getting more and more appropriate every time we talk about it. And particularly in the last 6 or 8 months, when all teaching for some kids has been totally disembodied, I think it's perhaps more than ever essential to help remind teachers when they can teach living human bodies that that's actually a really important part of the pedagogical process of how the kids learn.
I think the other thing is that when we looked at which books, which poems, which plays, it was really hard to decide because Victoria has one curriculum and Queensland has another curriculum. And we kind of made a call that we should go with our passion rather than what's on the set list at a given time, because we didn't think we could be authentic. And I think that with the emphasis on external assessment, and I know it's a big shift for teachers and kids in Queensland, but not so much in other states, we kind of felt, yes, it is timely, but it does make us nervous that people might think that they've got less time now to engage in these kinds of approaches, because let's be honest, they do take longer, and they do require a different kind of level of experience for the teachers and the students. But we hope that there's enough in it so that they don't have to do the whole unit. They can just be inspired by small sections of it. So yeah, as we said before, it's not a recipe. Hopefully it's, I'm a really bad cook. So I do need a recipe, but for other people who are really exceptional English teachers, exceptional drama teachers, they've already got the skills. All they need is just that little bit of a stimulus to take it in new directions and create whole new dishes. So we hope that's the case.
Lovely, thank you. Are there any more questions? Does anything come through, Ash? No? Lovely, okay, well if there aren't any more questions, then unless either of you have any final comments to make, do you have any final comments?
Just a final thank you to the avid reader for managing to help us through it. It's absolutely wonderful event for us. And thank you to this amazing live audience. You see, as old drama queens, we actually have to have a live audience. So when they offered us Zoom only, we just couldn't cope with that. Hello, the Zoom people as well. But I'm a drama person, not a film person, so thanks for everything.
And waving, John.
Yeah, and thank you for waving. So actually, Ash can take everybody off mute there, so that we can, so that before you all leave, you can join me in thanking our speakers tonight. We do really wish that you were all here with us in person, but it's been so lovely to have you. I can see some big groups as well. Ashley and I have been watching all of you laughing along and raising your glasses to cheers. So it's been absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for being a part of this launch tonight. And again, grab your copies online. And again, buy the copies online. Buy that yourselves off mute. And this book is now officially sold. And thank you. This book is now officially thank you. Everybody have a lovely night.
I love that. A lot of it's good. Yeah.